Hey, welcome everyone. This is Mike from ZoZoStockWatch.com, and this is going to be your Let's Get Ready for the week ahead, May 13th through May 17th. Let's get right into it. If you're new to my channel, we're going to go through some of the news that was moving the markets last week, some of the news that may move the markets this upcoming week. We'll go through what earnings are coming out, what economic information we have to be aware of. We'll go through some of the indexes. We'll look at some of the best and worst stocks for the week. So let's go ahead and get right into it. At the beginning of the week, we had the Dow plunges 473 points as the U.S.-China trade tensions escalate. So China trade was on our plate all week. Escalating U.S.-China trade risk causing bad Black Friday. So you can get a gist of all the headlines and the tweets that were out there this week. U.S.-China trade negotiations end with no deal in sight. Trump, no need to rush trade talks with China as tariffs rise. China still cautiously optimistic on U.S. trade talks despite new tariffs. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the news that came out after the market closed, courtesy of the trade exchange. So after the market closed tonight, Friday night, we got YCBD announced proposed public offering of common stock. We got CUTR to provide TrueScript, ID Laser Genesis, so some news there on CUTR. BCLI had earnings on Friday that came out after the bell on BCLI. Looks like they missed by 13 cents there. WVE, they have a 250 million shelf going on. Then some more news here on China. What China wants is equal and dignified trade agreement. So you can pause the video, read all this, and then we got some Trump tweets coming out over the weekend. I'm doing this video on Sunday. And Larry Kudlow was on Fox News Channel today on Sunday. Kudlow tells Fox that the U.S. people are completely behind the president in his tough approach on China. Then we got some comments coming out here from China's state media. China's economy is stable. We are able to cope with risks and challenges. No one should expect China will slow. Bitter fruit that harms its own core interests, China. So a little bit of a tough stance there by China. China hopes U.S. and China can resolve existing problems with rational and pragmatic attitude, China state media. China will not yield on import issue of principal China on principle of principal China state media. And then trade and economic cooperation between China, U.S. is the best choice. That coming from China state medium. China door to U.S. talks with U.S. on trade dispute is always open. So you can see all the comments coming out on this Sunday morning. Kudlow says expects China to impose retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods. Kudlow says both sides will suffer from extension of trade tariffs between China and the U.S. Kudlow says a pretty good chance that Trump will meet with Chinese President Xi at G20 summit in Japan in June. Kudlow says sticking point in China trade talks is getting Beijing put promised changes into law. So some comments coming out on this Sunday morning from Larry Kudlow, and I showed you the China headlines that have been going on. So this is going to continue. This volatility being caused by this is going to continue in the markets, and we are in a seasonally bad week coming up. For the markets this coming May. Usually May to October is not the best seasonally historically for the markets. I'm not saying it's going to be the same for this period of time, but historically in the markets, May through October is not the best time for the markets, and the next week coming up seasonally is not a good week for the markets. Let's go ahead and look at the heat map from Friday, and then we'll look at some of the markets. And as you can see, Amazon was down fractionally. Walmart was up over 2%. CVX, the Chevron, after not getting that deal with APC, this stock was moving up. As you can see, Oxy, that did get the deal finally, was down over 2% on Friday. Microsoft was up 1%. So, if I had to say, I would think the bulls held up pretty well. I'll show you that in the charts, but very tentative. All right, this market could go either way next week, but the bulls did put up a nice bounce. We were down like 400 points on Friday, and the bulls ended up closing us up. The Nasdaq was +6. The transports ended up down 25 points. The Dow Jones Industrials were up 114, and the S&P 500 were up 11. For the day on Friday. So the markets were down for the week, but the markets were up on Friday. We'll call it the week of tweets, right? China tweets from President Trump. Then he putting the tariffs up to 25%. So the deal did not get done, and you would think that the markets would have been down quite a bit on Friday, but they actually bounced back on the hopium that a deal would get done. And then I just showed you the latest news that came out from the trade exchange there. Let's go ahead and look at the earnings coming up for the week ahead. So for the week ahead, we have TTWO, Billy, BILI on Billy. That'll be reporting. It's a Chinese company. MYO Monday before the bell here. Mayamo will be reporting. Legacy LGCY will be reporting Monday after the bell. It's an oil company. Then Tuesday before the bell, we get CyberArk, Ralph Lauren, Jazz. Tuesday after the bell, we get Aurora will be reporting earnings. Tilray, TLRY will be reporting. Two cannabis names reporting. Sunworks, SUNW will be reporting. Alibaba, China name. Macy's, Children's Place. Cisco, NetEase, another China name, reporting after the bell on Wednesday. Thursday, we get Walmart reporting. Wix.com will be reporting. Thursday after the bell, NVIDIA will be reporting. IQ, another China name. Baidu, BIDU, reporting after the close on Thursday. We get Applied Materials also. Pinterest, the recent IPO. PINS, the symbol there. And then Friday before the bell, we get John Deere, DE, reporting before the bell on Friday. As far as economic information, courtesy of the trade exchange, a lot of Fed speak coming out this week. For the week ahead. And as far as economic information, pretty straightforward. We do get China's numbers coming out on Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Industrial production. Japan's PPI will be coming out. We get Canada's CPI at 8:30 Wednesday morning to be reported. Let's see, as far as the American economic information coming out, U.S. information, we get oil coming out on Wednesday at 10:30, the usual time. 9:15, we get industrial production. We get retail sales coming out for the U.S. on Wednesday. And for Friday, we get leading indicators at 10 o'clock and consumer sentiment also coming out. And then, as you can see, a little sprinkling of Fed speak for the week coming up. As you know, Uber also came out Friday with their IPO, and here's some headlines on Uber. Uber's IPO bombs, has worst debut for marquee name in a decade. This coming from the New York Post, and you can go check that out on the New York Post and read about it. But basically, it closed below its offering price. The pricing of shares was $45 a share, and then it opened down 7%, down to $42 per share for Uber. Here's another article, Uber's first day on Wall Street, this coming from Benzinga, and you can go ahead and check that article, just copy and paste I'll put this down in the comments bar down below if you want to read these two articles on Uber. All right, so that's Uber. That also came out on Friday. So let's go ahead and take a look for the week, what was up in our sectors. So the VIX, not what you want to see up, but we closed that with a 19 19 handle. We're still below that 20, 25 spot on the VIX, so not as bad as you think. Normally, the markets for the VIX, we trade in a range between 15 and 17 area. We're currently at 19, but we've seen it as high as 50 back in 2018 in February when we got that big push down. When the markets were moving down in October, the VIX was much higher than this. Right now, though, on the VIX for the week, it gained 25% on the VIX, but still a 19 handle. Nat Gas had a good week this week. Most of that coming on Friday. UNG up over 2%. Maybe a double bottom forming here on UNG. This is the daily chart of UNG, and we had a bottom here. We held this 22 area. So UNG, keep that on your watch maybe. We'll be back with another stocks to watch video that'll be out later in the day. I'm doing this video once again on a Sunday. As far as to the downside, as you can imagine, a lot of sectors were down this week. The Chinese internets took a big hit, down almost 8% for the week. The FXI itself down 7%. The SMH down 6% for the week. Robo, the automation ETF, was down 6%. The OIH got hit. The oil services sector, such names as Halliburton, Schlumberger, Rig, was down 5%. Hack, the cyber security ETF, down almost 4.5% or down 4.5%. Social ETF, Twitter, Facebook, down 4%. The IYT, that's your transports, down over 3% for the week. The Dow Jones transports themselves down 3.25%. The Qs were down 3% for the week. The marijuana ETF was down 3%. TAN, the solar ETF, down 3%. So a lot of selling going on there. The S&P down 2% for the week, and the Dow Jones was down 2% for the week. Even the software sector was down over almost 2%. The IGV and then the PSJ was down almost 2% for the week. But there were a lot of these stocks were popping up, like Coop, a software sector name. Workday bounced back. Zscaler had a very good Friday, very strong. TEAM in the software space had a very good Friday and a good week. Very good strength here in team. So the software sector ended up down, but some of the stocks were popping and doing very well for the week there. Now, if we look at our year to date, for the markets here, just to take a look to see where we are. The marijuana ETF year to date is up 38%. Solars are up 37% for the year so far. Oil is up 36%. What else do we have? The software space is up 24%. The SMH for the year to date up 27%. The software IGV, this is up 24% for the year. The KWeb, the Internet China stocks, up 22%. So we're giving some back, but as you can see, we've been up quite a bit for the year so far. Social has been up 20%. The Qs have been up almost 20%. The NASDAQ up almost 20%. Hack up 18% for the year. The IWM for the year is up 17% for the year. And then we have the SPY, the S&P 500 for the year, up 15% for the year. So we are giving back some gains, but as you can see, the performance for year to date has been very strong. Let's go and look at some of the sectors in the market for the week that passed. We had the XOP, the oil and exploration, for the week was up about 0.5%. Then as you can see, everything was pretty much down. Metals and mining down almost 4%. Retail space, XRT, with goods or products that they get from China probably going up in price. The retail sector took a hit, down almost 4%. XLK was down 3%. That's your technology sector. The XLI, also the industrial sector, down almost 3% for the week. The XLB was down. The XHB was down. The XBI, the small cap biotech names, down over 2.5% for the week. Let's kind of look at a few charts of the markets here. So the SPY, here's your weekly chart. So the SPY broke down below the 10 SMA on the week, but where did they close it? Right back above the 10 SMA on our weekly chart. That's one of the indicators, moving averages, that I like to watch. as long as we're holding above this 10 SMA, and you see the dip buyers showed up around in that the lows for the week we're at 282.30. So let's see if we're going to hold this week at that 282.30 area. The high this week was 293.31, so we'll be watching that 294, 293.50 area for the highs on the SPY. But we did hold this 10 SMA for the week on the SPY. Let's look at the Qs real fast. Qs did the same thing, pulled back to that 10 SMA on the weekly. Now the 10 SMA on the weekly for these is basically about equal to the 50 SMA on the daily chart. Let's look at it on the daily chart here for the Qs. So as you can see, they were battling around this 50 SMA, then pushed us back up. But on this daily chart, we still remain below the fast moving averages, the momentum moving averages. Right now, currently, we're back still below the 5 EMA, which is currently at 186.14. As a bull, you want to see us holding above the 10, the 20, and the 5. Right now, we're below that. As far as the SPY itself, SPY, that is holding below the 5 EMA and also down below the fast moving averages here on the SPY. The IWM, which everybody was getting their hopes up here on the IWM, yours included, as we were breaking above that 160 spot. It had been lagging, but here we are right back down to the 50 SMA. We are holding above this 155 and the 50 SMA on the IWM. If we go ahead and look at it on the weekly chart real fast, we are holding above the 10 SMA for the IWM. As far as the XBI, the small cap bios, for the weekly chart, we remain below the 10 SMA here. The IBB itself also remains below the 10 SMA on the weekly chart, but still battling here to hold above the 200 SMA on the weekly chart on the IBB. If we go ahead and look at it on the daily chart here, you see the bottoming wicks here. The low on Friday for the IBB was at 103. We closed at 105, so we came down to the bottom Bollinger Band here. We held that 103 area for the last couple of days, but once again, we remain below the momentum moving averages, the 5, the 10, the 20, and on the IBB, and the XBI also remains below here on the 200 SMA and also below those momentum moving averages. So let's go ahead and get into the worst stocks for the week that passed. By the way, if this video is helping you out and getting you prepared for the week ahead, if you find this news important to you, please hit that like button down below. Help the channel grow. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button down below, and we'd greatly appreciate it. So we'll start off with the worst stocks for the week. BBYI. This stock got hit for 43% this week. This stock reported earnings, not what Wall Street wanted. The stock dropping 43% for the week. X came out with earnings. This stock dropped 7%. U.S. Steel, SAIL, this stock got hit. Now, this one is in the software space. SAL, stock dropping 31% for the week. MOMO. One of those China names got hit this week for 21% drop. TTD came out with earnings, another one in the software applications. So not all the software application stocks were having a great week. This stock, after it announced the earnings, dropped 21%. Now, as you can see, this thing has been on a big run here, and then some profit taking came in on TTD. So that stock dropping. We also had IRBT, iRobot dropping further, down another 10% for the week this week. Triple D, the 3D system printing stock, down 22% for the week here. Crocs also came out with earnings, stock dropping 20% for the week. Win, connected here with China, down 12% for the week on Wynn Resorts with all the China and U.S. turmoil. Tesla down 6% for the week, still remains below that 250 number. That had been a support area. We still remain below that. Now, we did have two bottoming tails here on Tesla. We had a low of 231.50, and we also had a low here of 231.13. So 231 is the most important number right now for Tesla. Anyway, for the week, that stock dropping 6% for the week. MYL, they came out with earnings, stock dropping 21% for the week. NVIDIA, which has earnings coming up, and the semi space was soft this week. This stock dropped 8%. Once again, NVIDIA's earnings come up this week on Thursday. We had JMIA, a recent IPO, the Amazon of Africa, down 37% for the week on that name. CGC, some of the cannabis names, this one not hit too bad. The weekly holding up above the 10 SMA. CGC down only 3% for the week. CRON was down this week over 7%. That one remains below the 20 and the 10 on the weekly chart for Cronus Group. Hexo moving down this week, dropping 8%, but after a big move up on Hexo, still holding above the 10 SMA here on this name. Lyft, moving down on that IPO of Uber on Friday did not help Lyft at all. This stock moving down for the week 18% on Lyft. LTHM, this is a lithium battery play. This stock dropped over 29% for the week. They had their earnings come out. Etsy pause this week, dropping 11%. If you notice on the weekly chart, we're pulling back to the 20 SMA here for Etsy, so that stock not having a good week. Teva this week dropped 5.4%. Now for Teva, U.S. states accused Teva and other drug makers of price-fixing lawsuit. So that coming out and that knocking Teva down. But then over the weekend now from Reuters, Teva Pharma CFO says company did not conspire to fix prices. So maybe a bounce coming up in Teva after having a down week. Keep your eye on it on Teva. Intel moved further down this week, coming down to the 100 SMA on Intel. As you notice here, it's hit the 100 SMA before. It's doing that again. Maybe a possible bounce play here in Intel. Keep an eye on it. Down 11% for the week on Intel. They did have lousy news come out, though. Coming out with 3 years of poor guidance for the outlook for Intel, so that one driving it down. But just note, like I said, the 100 SMA has held before here on Intel. It wasn't coming down with the same amount of selling, but we are here again around that $45 area on Intel. Another name that dropped this week was Yelp. That stock dropping 17% for the week. JD came out with earnings on Friday. This stock dropped 6% for the week. Baba, as you can imagine, the China names moving back, down 9% for the week on Baba. We also had OSMT. Phase 3 on this stock did not meet the primary endpoints for OSMT. Stock dropped for the week, down 25% on that name. Tiger, a recent IPO, a China name. This stock dropping 37% on this IPO. Trip came out with earnings this week. Stock dropped 14% on this name. Ship, they did an offering. Stock dropping 56% for the week on Ship. Stamp, once again, their earnings came out. Wall Street did not like what it heard, pushing this stock down another 53% on STMP. They just cannot get that one going in the up direction. NVAX. Now, this stock announced a 1-for-20 reverse split. Once it started trading that split price, reverse split price, they dropped it down another 30% on that name. CPRX. FDA granted approval to a competitor's product. So this stock took a hit, down 48% on that one. DMPI, this one did a 1-for-10 reverse split, and they dropped this stock down 20% after that reverse split. AXGT, 1-for-8 reverse split, where they took shares out of the market, but still the market didn't like that, and down 7% on that name. And that is some of your worst stocks for the week. Let's go and get into some of the best stocks for the week. We'll lead it off here with ATAI. This stock jumping 30% for the week. We actually traded this one several times in the service at ZoZoStockWatch. This one moving up 30% for the week on ATAI. We also had GoPro come out with earnings this week. This stock jumping 6% for the week on GoPro. Maybe they're turning the corner here on GoPro. Roku, what a monster move after their earnings. Up 27% for the week. Look at that huge move for the week on Roku, and actually on Thursday after the earnings came out, the stock popped from $70 a share all the way up to 82 bucks, and then Friday did a continuation move. So a very strong move here by Roku. After their earnings. ABIO had a very strong week, up 19%. Another one we traded in the service. WKHS, after President Trump putting this stock in one of his tweets, and we actually caught this one early, and we got a very nice trade in this thing, up 94% for the week by President Trump tweeting about Workhorse Group. That one making a big move up. Zscaler in the software space had a very good week, up 9%. TAAM, this stock was up 17% for the week. MTCH had a strong week after their earnings came out, up 9% for the week. WPRT, a smaller name, but jumping 29% for the week on WPRT. Some other names that were moving up in the solar sector, we had SPWR announced earnings. They moved this one up 9% for the week. Sedge, an Israeli solar company, popping 19% this week after they released earnings. Sedge, helping that solar sector. I think it's the second largest holding in the TAN ETF on Sedge. Don't quote me on that. SLGG, recent IPO, popping 8% for the week. SILK, this stock having a good week this week, up 17%, a recent IPO. DVAX had earnings this week, moving up 13% for the week. FLXN, they were moving up 16, almost, well, actually 17% on FLXN after they came out with earnings. Race, Ferrari, this stock announced earnings the week that passed, up 5% for the week. SWAV, a recent IPO. Look at this major move here in medical devices. Shockwave Medical moving up 33% for the week. CMRX, they were cutting staff, lowering their cash burn rate on CMRX stock. Moving up 16% for the week. ATNX announced a sale of its common stock, gross proceeds of $100 million in ATNX, moving that one up 41% for the week on that name. CFMS climbing this week, up 39% for the week. CDLX moving up this week, up 25%. ESPR, FDA has accepted both new drug applications for ESPR. This stock jumping 16% for the week. CBLK climbing 14% for the week. AWSM had a very strong day on last week. I believe it was on Friday on this one. Let's take a look. Yeah, Friday, a lot of volume came into this stock, 7.1 million shares on AWSM. So for the week, this stock moved up 29% on AWSM. ER had a very strong week, a recent IPO moving up 26% on AVDR. KTOS climbing strong after they announced earnings, a defense name, moving up 19% for the week. AXSM, this stock moving up 17% for the week. We also had AKRX climbing this week. This stock moving up 58% for the week. AXNX, this stock climbing up 33% for the week. And then YCBD, this stock moving up 15% for the week, but they did announce that offering on YCBD. This used to be the old LEVB and then they joined forces here, and the new symbol for that one is YCBD. It's over in the cannabis space, but once again, as I showed you, they announced an offering after the bell on Friday, so this stock moving down, but for the week it was up 15% for the week, and that's some of your best stocks for the week. Once again, we'll be having a video come out, Stocks on Watch for Monday. That'll be out later in the day. I'm doing this video on Sunday in the morning. Once again, I wanted to show you the Uber action from Friday because I had mentioned it. So we got up, it opened up, we popped up to that $45 area, and then it slowly bled off for the rest of the day and in after hours for Uber. So not a good showing here for Uber, down here at 41 and change on Uber, and like we said, Lyft also taking a hit on the Uber IPO, moving down. So this is Mike from ZoZoStockWatch.com. I hope you're more ready for the week ahead. If this video once again has helped you, please hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. Hit that bell if you want to be notified of videos that we do. You'll get an email alert when a new video comes out. I hope you're more ready for the week ahead than you were before. Have a good week of trading. We'll be back at it with another video, Stocks on Watch for Monday, the 13th of May.